We'll call to order the Boarding of Zoning Appeals for August the 31st. The quorum being present, you can review the minutes if you would and make any comments or suggestions to the minutes.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
We have a motion to accept the minutes. We have a second.
A second.
Second. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes carry. Okay, item number one, just to let everyone know that it is item number one is my neighbour, so I'm going to refrain from any discussion or voting of this and transfer over the order to Vice Chair Mr. Barker.
Okay, new business. Our number one item on new business, rear setback variance for a building addition at 205 Josh Cove, tax map 6G, Group D, Parcel 8, property zoned R2S, property owned by Donna Landgren Green. Mr. Green.
Yes, sir. A permit application was for a residential addition was issued for the property owners at 205 Josh Cove. This house has two road frontages, which one of which is on Josh Cove and fronts the house. The rear of the house faces Stones River Road. Because of this, the lot has two 35-foot front setbacks, and the permit was issued for a 1,313 square foot addition. The addition has ended up being significantly larger than originally permitted. The original plans do not show encroachment over the 35-foot front setback along Stones River Road. The actual addition that has been constructed encroaches 12 foot into the 35-foot setback. This variance request would reduce the setback to 23 feet. And one of the things that should be noted in the packet, the applicant has provided letters showing that they feel they should have, they have a hardship due to the disabled family member that they have, who they state will occupy this addition that they've done. We have some the zoning map. This is actually what was submitted at the end. This is the actual addition that's been done. It's extended out further than what the original permit had shown, and it shows this setback encroachment right here, this portion. And we have the zoning map. It's R2S. It's basically R2. It's just a grandfathered in type zone. It's essentially the same though. It's the aerial, and that's the area where the addition's been placed. Some pictures here that shows shows the situation from the road, from Stones River Road going north. And if you look in past the fence there's the side of the house. And then this is the fence that they've put up and the addition that's been constructed there. And that's essentially what we have as far as information on this, and I'd like to open up, any discussion on this.
In our packet, we've got a site plan right here. Does it show a 32-foot addition? Is that what the packet shows? I mean, is that what was supposed to be to start with?
Yes, sir. There's two pieces of information that's been submitted. This is the larger of which, by Mayo Architecture, shows on the last page of this, the bigger packet shows the initial submittal that shows the 32-foot, the proposed addition that was initially 32 feet.
And what did it turn out to be? What did the addition turn out to be? Do we know what length it is?
With what they've submitted, it doesn't dimension that out, but
it does encroach into the 35 minimum foot setback by 12 foot. Is that what we're saying?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Well, maybe 11 and a half feet, I guess, or, yeah, 11 and a half feet. If it's 23 feet 6 left, that'd make us 11 and a half feet over into it, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Approximately 12 feet. Yes, sir.
Is the applicant here? Would they like to speak on this matter? The applicant, are you?
I'm the contractor.
Okay. Would you like to speak on this matter?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on, please come to the podium and be sworn in by a recorder. Okay.
Can you please raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Mark Butler, 305 Bradshaw Road, Lebanon, Tennessee.
Thank you, sir.
Well, when you first obtained the permit, was it originally for a 32-foot addition?
The drawings that I took in there at the time were for, showed the 32 feet just like you have. Now, when I went in, I asked Miss Rita at the desk, I said, find out if you can for me what the rear setback is on this lot. And she got up, came back, she said it's 20 feet rear setback. I said, okay, knowing that, I said, we want to make this building bigger based on what the homeowner wants me to do for her brother who's in the wheelchair. And this is on a Friday. She said, how much bigger? I said, I don't know. I'll have to get with Miss Donna and see what she wants to do with it there. She said, I said, do I need to pay you now? She said, come back Monday and I'll have it all ready. And I walked in Monday. She had it all ready. I asked again Monday. I said, will you double check that for me? The rear setback. She'd come back 20 feet. I said, okay. So that's when I called Miss Donna. I said, hey, we've got a 20-foot rear setback. I said, where is the rear setback line? And we assumed the fence, that fence right there. So I'm actually inside that fence, 22 and a half feet. That fence is actually inside the rear setback line according to that survey. I shortened I didn't build right up to the 20-foot setback. I stayed back about 1.5 feet.
But is the fence on the property line?
It's inside the property line according to Jeff Gray's survey.
Okay.
That's,
On your building permit, did it have 20-foot rear setback written on it?
oh, I don't know. I mean, that building permit is still posted in the window over there. And as far as receipts and information, I've turned that over.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Butler?
I mean, it's such a gross error, 11 and a half feet. It's not like we're trying to go in there and squeeze 1.5 feet out of it and hope nobody finds out. I mean, it was given. I mean, I did it based on the information that I was given when I pulled the permit.
So the fence is, you didn't build?
No, the fence was existing when I started the job.
You said the Rita gave you some paper. Did you have the paper?
No, she didn't. No, the papers, the stuff she had for me was my permit packet, where she had it already posted on the cardboard thing, and I took it and we put it in the window at the job site.
But on the building permit itself, did it have the rear setback written on it anywhere?
I couldn't tell you. Honestly, don't remember.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I think
Yes.
one key point that we have here is kind of, you've heard his, I guess, his side or his main points here, and we keep hearing rear setback, and I think that's what the issue is he asked the question of what is the rear setback in this zoning. The rear setback in this zoning is 20 foot, but this is not a rear setback. What we're looking at here is a special case. If you look at the lot, I guess we can go back to the photo here. As you can tell, we have a front here and then a front on the rear. So technically the rear is a front on this lot, and I think that's what's caused the confusion. And the main thing that, as far as on our end, we would say is, there is no paperwork showing that it was a 20-foot setback, because at that point I think then it would have been caught saying that there is a road frontage there, as opposed to just asking the blanket question of what is a rear setback in that zone. So I think as far as the setback, that's probably where, or no, I know it's how we got to this point, is he asked the general question, what's rear setback? And as you can tell, this is a special circumstance lot, and it can get confusing. So I think it's probably an honest mistake on his part, and plus, you know, on our end, Rita telling him that it was a 20-foot setback is kind of negligent, because it's not really has a lot to do with this, because, yeah, he did ask that question, but that is a rear setback in that zone. But that doesn't apply to this lot. If that makes sense to everyone, I just want to clarify that.
Well, I'm a little bit confused when you said the back is the front.
You have road frontages. What your front is, the front of the house does not determine what the front setback is. A front setback is based off of where you have road frontages. And because this lot has 2 road frontages, it has 2 fronts. It doesn't actually have a front and a rear. On this lot, you have a front, and then 2 sides. And that lies the confusion probably that has taken place. And as you can tell, as we're talking here, it gets confusing very, very quickly. And I think the main thing to look at this point is probably not as much how we got to this point is we have a building now that is inside the setback, and I think that's kind of what we need to be looking at is it's already built. You see the pictures. It is inside the setback. You can kind of see how we got to the point we are right now, and it's basically the question we're asking now is does the board feel like a variance should be granted or should not be? Because if it feels like it should be granted, then the codes department will issue a CO, and we'll continue on and get the permit corrected for the additional square footage that it was added, and make sure the fee is appropriate, and then get a CO issued. If the board feels like it should not get a variance or grant a variance, then half of this, or not half, the amount of the structure that is over the setback line will need to be demoed and cut off, and then you'd have to rebuild or redo the wall there. And that's kind of the hardship they're looking at is they, you know, I'm sure they've done paid for the amount of the addition, and now you're looking at the additional cost of demoing that and also getting it back up to what the front setback would have been. So,
well, Kyle, what does the board recommend? What does staff recommend?
you want to take that, or you want?
At this time, knowing what we know, staff recommend voting for the variance.
Just looking at the case that we have, how it happened, like he said, he didn't, it's not a foot, it's not 2 foot, it's not 3 foot. He didn't try to, like he said, he wasn't trying to sneak something by. He asked a question of what he thought was the rear on what the lot was. And at this point, we've got a building that is constructed. So.
Is there a side issue?
No, just the rear. Or, see, it's the front setback, which is the rear of the structure.
And if, in the fence, it'll stay there regardless if the building
Yes,
went.
the fence will stay regardless whether the.
Theoretically, could the house face either street? I mean, since both of them are minimum building setback.
I think there might have been a comment on the plat that the frontages had to face Josh Cove.
No access off.
And no access is allowed off Stones River Road because.
Well, allowing the variance, will that have any repercussions down the road as far as widening Stone River Road?
That would be the only issue is if Stones River was widened, and if you was to widen Stones River Road in this area. I'm not sure if it's I think it's a 50 or right-of-way may vary on this is what it says,
Yeah,
but it's somewhere around probably a 50 foot or so.
There's no plans in the near future, like I mean, that don't mean it couldn't change, but there's no future plans at this time.
And this is so far north on Stones River Road that it doesn't receive a whole lot of traffic
Not a
in
high
that
traffic
area.
area anyway, is it?
Yes, sir.
So it'd be a low priority.
Even if you widen it, you probably wouldn't widen it the
That much.
2 or 3 or 4 lanes. You would only widen it maybe a lane or 2 if you ever did widen it. Probably you would improve the road, put in a center turn lane in the future if that was ever needed a long time in the future, and then you might have sidewalks or something. But you're still probably not going to encroach into the building. Now you would be very close. You'd be a whole lot closer than you would be the rest of the street because they've got more of a setback. So
Most of that area is built out, and you've got the core property over on the other side, and it's not likely to see a big increase in traffic.
Kyle, could you go back to the other picture where you had the outline, where you showed the 2 frontages? So if you go to the right, the home on the right, that issue wouldn't even be,
This one?
it wouldn't be an issue, right? Because they only have one frontage.
Right, they have
20.
It's because of that Stones River Road.
This would be a rear here, and then that would be a frontage.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
this lot,
It would have the same thing.
you've got the same issue. You've
Yeah.
got a front here and then a front back here.
Okay. That was just for my clarification. I thought I understood what you were saying. I just wanted to make sure.
Tell me one more time why the staff is recommending approval for the variance. Why did y'all recommend? What reasons?
The reasons we're recommending approval for the variance?
Uh-huh.
At this stage, it would create an undue hardship on the homeowner to have 12 feet cut off the slab and the home, because you'd have to take that off the home, then you'd have to reform up the slab, reform it, re-pour it, because you have the end of your slab turning down right there. So you'd have to cut all that off, then reconstruct it to put it back up properly. And financially, $30,000, $40,000.
And I'm not gonna say that it's a safety issue where the city is concerned. If it was too close to the road and if it was a safety issue, I don't see that either.
Also,
At
look
this
at
time.
the hardship of
I mean, yeah.
the disabled person that is dwelling on the premises, and which was the reason for the addition in the first place.
I'm asking the attorney, is it a hardship any grounds, is it a hardship any grounds to ask for a variance?
My understanding is that having a hardship is the basis for asking for a variance in most instances. Now,
But in front of
I
this
can't-
board,
I
they
can't
wouldn't
really-
need it anyway.
well, I can't really comment as to whether or not a mistaken question or a mistaken question in this instance, if the right question would have been asked, this building probably would have never been built like it is. And then I also don't know if disability is also a hardship. My understanding is that hardships are generally due based on the size of the lot, the shape of the lot, in the way that the lot would be unusable if it hadn't been granted. So this is something that I don't know if this is a hardship as far as the
But a hardship would qualify.
Yes, sir.
And looking at that, the two 35-foot front setbacks could potentially be viewed as a hardship with in addition to what the reason for their build out. And it is an opinion-based type thing for Board of Zoning Appeals to look at, and that's that there are several different circumstances to take into account for.
Mr. Vice Chairman, with the recommendation of the staff, I'll make a motion to accept the variance.
Can I hold your motion just a moment?
I'll hold.
Do y'all have any more questions for Mr. Butler? If they don't, we can excuse him. And I need to see if anyone else in the audience would like to speak on the matter before, if you don't mind, sir. Thank you, sir. Does anyone else in the audience like to speak on this matter? Okay, Mr. Mayor.
I'll make that in a motion
Okay.
to accept the variance.
Motion has been made to accept, approve the variance, to grant the variance for this person. Do I have a second for the motion?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Everyone that's approved, say aye.
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 Opposed? No? Ayes will have it then, okay? Variance has been granted. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Coates.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 2, special exception for utility facility in an R2 zoning district, cell tower height extension location at AT&T, located at 750 Bonacqua Drive. Tax map 6, parcel 19.04, current zoning R2, property owned by the City of Laverne, leased to Tower 2 LLC. Mr. Green.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The Board of Zoning Appeals approved a special exception for a 150-foot tall tower in 2008. And the site plan that's been submitted shows an additional 10 feet to the actual tower in looking at this and looking at what's been submitted, it does appear that there's also an 8-foot lightning rod and equipment that's also on top of the actual tower, which they did include that in the actual site plan that they submitted. However, the request just basically says it's for the additional 10 feet for the tower. The total height of the tower, and this matches what their FAA approval is. We did receive a letter this afternoon, an updated letter from FAA showing that they're approved for up to 168 feet. And it would be 10 foot for the tower and 8 foot for the lightning rod.
Total of 18 grand.
Yes, sir. And got pictures of the site there too. It's the R2 zone. And this is,
So that's approved by the FAA on the 18 additional feet?
yes, with the letter that we received today, that did show that they were approved for that. This is where the tower is right here. This is from, I believe, Water's Edge subdivision. It's the existing tower. Be adding on to the top for AT&T to co-locate. This is from the water plant. I think that's the last one. But essentially, this is just a special exception for the additional height.
Y'all see the problem, the additional 18 foot?
We don't really have any city requirements for towers other than for the airport zone, and I did check with John Black on that, and he said as long as FAA is okay with it, they were okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I just request anyone else like to speak on this matter before we go to the vote? As been said, Mr. Mayor, you can continue with your motion.
I have a motion to approve.
The motion to approve, do I have a second?
I second.
Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Any other business? With that, we'll call this meeting adjourned.